The Paradis Files, 1 year on.
So it is one whole year since we had the press night at the Southbank Centre, Queen Elizabeth Hall, the press night for our fantastic opera, Paradis Files. I'm Jenny, Artistic Director of Graeae. I am a white woman of a certain age. I have messy blondish greyish hair, pink sunglasses on my head, black rimmed reading glasses on my eyes, got pink top on and my usual silver curly whirly necklace. And on this Zoom with me, I have Andrea, who was the musical director and the conductor for Paradis Files. Andrea?
Hello, hi. Yes, I'm got kind of messy hair as well, actually. I've got short dark hair, and I am mixed white, and I'm wearing glasses. I've got grey metal glasses, and it's quite a sunny day down here in Somerset. So I've got I'm a very optimistic orange shirt. You know, in reflection of spring, which I'm really hoping is coming quite soon.
And Shandu, who is our beautiful performance interpreter in the show. Shandu, do you want to describe yourself?
Hello, my name is Chandu. My sign name is Chandu. I am Indian. I have curly black hair. I'm wearing a blue top, I think. It looks kind of green, but wearing a blue top with flowers on it. That's
And she has the best smile ever.
Does.
This that I think that was in the introduction for the opera. I'm just thinking about all the many things we did in that opera. I think some things we can quite rightly own, felt like they were groundbreaking because opera in my head is very elite, has a lot of rules. But working with you and Evelyn, the composer, Nicola Woronowska and Selina Mills, the librettist, together, I think we thought, well, stop this, let's break some rules. I
Yes,
don't know,
I
Andrew,
think,
you are more
yeah.
of an opera person than I am, but I do think we did break rules.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even from the start of how we started the performance, in which we all came on stage and introduced ourselves and ourselves as the singers or the performers, and and also the character that we play. I thought that was really quite fascinating and actually very groundbreaking. You know, for the conductor and the musicians who are on stage also performing, introducing themselves as well. Fantastic.
I think there was a real generosity of spirit with our team. Uh, we had people that would really roll their sleeves up and think, okay, it's fine, we are going to do it differently. And when we started first trying to look at, that introduction, we see people trying to process, look, I'm all right, Jenny, I'm all right singing, but speaking on stage, oh, that fills me with horror. But over time, they
Yes.
got more and more confident. And I think the thing that I did love is, Omar fiercely saying, I am deaf. Andy saying, I walk with a stick. Beth saying, I'm visually impaired. People really owning their impairments and feeling quite happy to declare that on stage. Because I don't know if you remember some of the conversation we'd had with all of them is about how hidden they felt they've had to be in the world of opera, but being part of Graeae, they could be who they really genuinely were. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that the rehearsal period for that was just, um, again, groundbreaking. I mean, the players, the singers, everyone involved. It felt like we were really treading new ground in terms of how we rehearsed, the generosity of spirit required, because of course there was COVID still, and there were people off who were ill, you know, to really go through quite an intensive period for a new production, a new score, which really actually involved pretty much everyone on stage at the same time, you know, so that there was really never a dull moment, neither in the actual rehearsal period nor indeed the performance itself.
It was a real ensemble piece, but we didn't have them all, the full cast, because of COVID until the tech week.
It's
Thank
true.
God for Zoom so people could listen in, and thank God for the BBC Orchestra, who were one of our partners, and Left the Curve, just gave us that space to make some mistakes at the start because we hadn't had the time.
Absolutely, and I think I'm glad you mentioned them because you know, particularly well, also the well, the BBC Concert Orchestra, who really were with us from the start in this production. That, you know, at the start we didn't know what it was going to be like, and you know what, how long was it, how much ensemble it was. I mean, of course, this was a new a premiere of a new work. It was commissioned as well, so there were a lot of question marks at the start, and you know, having the support of the BBC Concert Orchestra, particularly, of course, the Milton Keynes Festival, who commissioned at the start, and indeed fantastic people like Bill Banks Jones, who you know, was there as well in those initial workshops, and working with us just to work out how this wonderful creation was going to be refined.
I do remember, just you, Nicola, Selena, Evelyn, and I all sat around in the Graeae hub saying, okay, we have the material from Selena, we know the narrative, what's our starting point? And there were so many different ways. It was like, well, where are we going to go? Then you just have to hand it over to the writers to just
Yes.
get on with it.
Yeah.
We had some battles because of the whole role of how you sign something or how you audio describe something within a narrative. There's so many different ways of interpreting that. And I do remember saying to Evelyn, you know, there's the gossips, they could be spoken. You don't have to worry about the music. Maybe there's underscoring, which is music, but you don't necessarily have to compose it, because she was worried about the role of the gossips. I think you two were for a while. But over time, you know, that was one of the battles I was determined I was going to win. And then I knew I'd won it when Evelyn had composed amazing music for the gossips, that she'd really embraced it and really got the rationale for them being there, because they're the storytellers, they're the audio describers, you know, they drive the conversation
Yes.
on.
I think they were very quite instrumental in terms of conveying the narrative, in terms of supporting what was going on in stage, sometimes describing what was going on in stage, and you know, so from something that was just perhaps, as you said, you know, gossips, you know, the gossip of the court, again, something which would have been very prevalent at the time of Theresia von Paradis. They became the storytellers, yeah, the people who became, and also a chorus. And so the music kind of representing the style of music, also representing what was going on in stage as well, you know, jaunty music to tease characters, or perhaps more quiet music at more intense moments. So they were really kind of instrumental to to the entire piece.
No, really, as we're talking, I'm starting to feel all the music just come flooding back into me, you know what I mean? Stuff, because one of the things I love is that you and Yelena on the piano and all the BBC lot actually really talked to me about the texture and the essence of the music, so that it became, you know, I had a real visceral understanding of it. And
Yes, and I think,
as a
yeah.
deaf person, to have the privilege to be in and around all of that and to feel it and to understand it was just like, oh, so exciting.
And of course, the narrative, the story did revolve around Teresa von Paradis and the fact that she was a pianist, and so we would have a wonderful bit of Mozart here and there, and maybe a little bit more of the tavern, of the vernacular, and the violinist suddenly becoming a fiddle player, and of course fantastic percussion, and then suddenly the appearance of an accordion, which can sound soulful, but then can also sound jolly and something of the public house about it. Sorry, Milos, but I thought the way that Erilyn sort of conveyed and put texture to the piece across the entire score was just brilliant. There are moments, like for instance, when the father and the daughter have a duet, and there may be one solo instrument playing, and then there were moments where there was a full-blown, almost tango going on, which was so completely out of character of what was happening at a 18th century court. So it was quite fun, I think, for us all to be with that music.
The rock bit, listen to music for the first time, I just remember seeing the performers, hearing the BBC orchestra play for the first time, and this rock music, okay, what is going on? And I start headbutting. Of course, that had to be part of the show because it's just such a gorgeous contrast.
Yeah.
And then we went into one of really heartbreaking moment of the miscarriage with Shandu and Bethan sitting on one stool together, Shandu signing and Bethan singing, and the intimacy of that. Oh, I just thought that worked so beautifully within Berner's design, which was so simple but so right. But thinking about that, Shandu, have you got a favourite moment?
My favorite moment of Paradis Files. Oh, everything so amazing. I think to be a performance interpreter, sharing the stage with Max, the other performance interpreter, was such an amazing experience because it's very rare that you have two performance interpreters, and we could really like bounce off each other, and just to have someone like sharing the stage made you like a little bit more confident, and sharing the stage with such amazing musicians and amazing opera singers, and being directed by Jen and having Andrea. I mean, the list, it doesn't stop of what my favorite things are. But on stage, I think my favorite moment was possibly when we did.
Dare you, no?
Yeah, I love that moment. Yeah, I love that. That's probably a favorite. But the song when and then you had the gossips in the background, and we were doing what was that line? When
The naughty bit about
We'll go on tour.
yeah,
being
that bit.
out on the town and having
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
lots of fun, lots of fun. Yeah, I think that was my favorite because every night we were always just really like smiling, genuinely so happy to be performing something really naughty on a very classical stage. So it felt really good, and to see like the audience's reaction as well, and coming up after saying, wow, I never thought I could watch an opera and feel included. That was really special. Yeah, so working with Max, but also working with the absolutely amazing Daryl Jackson as our BSL consultant, because without his support, I don't know how the translation would have happened, because he really added that musicality into the translation and made it so much more visually impressive and beautiful. And I can just remember the feedback from the audience echoing that. So thanks to Daryl as
Yeah,
well.
And
I
I think
completely
also
agree.
thanks to Sunny who linked the signing with the movement of the team. So it meant that you and Mac didn't feel so separated out as the interpreters. It meant, how the whole thing, it just like blended together. So I don't think
And
you felt separate, did you, Shandu?
yeah,
No, never. Really felt like we were part of the ensemble. And
I
yeah,
completely
thanks, Andrew,
agree.
as well.
It's really worth saying, that this was one of the reasons that made the production very unique, was the fact that there was no separation between what was happening on stage and the musicians and the signing. The signing was absolutely part of the production, and not even that they were just standing in the same place, but also the fact that the signing was absolutely with in accord with the music. So
I think for
I
me,
think so. I
the whole
completely
thing,
agree.
especially, press night, because I had to leave press night because I had to go to my mum's funeral the next day. So losing my mum during rehearsals was hard. And I only really told you and Chandra and Max and just a Graeae item, just didn't want everyone to know. But weirdly, because the group was all holding each other, I felt very held, certainly by you, Andrea. Um, and I had my mum on my shoulder through all that time, because she would have been cross with me if I said, "Oh, I've got to leave the opera, I've got to go and do funeral stuff," which I did do. But I think, thank goodness she died during the opera, really, because I had something to keep me going. My dad did the same with another play years ago. There's something about the arts that allows you to hold yourself, if you know what I mean. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it is very special. And I didn't want to leave the press night because the buzz at the Queen Elizabeth Hall was so amazing. So amazing. I felt so proud of all of us because it was so hard with bloody COVID and everything. But we
Yes.
did
Yeah.
it. We really did it. And we did it without the backing of the big institutes, which still does upset me that the Royal Opera House said no, ENO said no. It's like, why? It's an amazing resource, an amazing new way forward. Why?
Yeah. It
How
was.
who
Yeah.
do we have to jump? So thank you, Left the Curve. Thank you, BBC Orchestra, for believing in us. But I suppose for
And
me,
indeed.
I don't
And
know about
indeed.
you, Andrea, I do feel a little bit gutted that it's disappeared from the opera world, and I want us to do it again. It deserves another life. I don't know what you think. Maybe that's
No,
just my soapbox.
it certainly does, and actually to that list we also have to thank Gillian Moore of the Southbank Centre, who said yes right from the start, and really believed in the production. I think yeah, it was a very unique production, in that, just for all these reasons that we've said, that we managed to have all sorts of performers. So not just our opera singers center stage and then someone signing on the side, and maybe they'll have some subtitles on the top. The action was completely immersive, and so yes, we had Shandu and Max, who were absolutely interwoven with what was happening on stage. I mean, they were absolutely part of it. Our performers, our musicians, were also on stage. In fact, I was on stage as well. The pianist was on stage, and then just other formalities like in opera, one has surtitles if if the language is not in the home language, or sometimes one has surtitles anyway. Well, our surtitles actually had a bit of graphic to them, so that if people weren't hearing music, they could sort of watch the narrative, and they also saw as and the subtitles happened as the speech happened. So that took some timing, as what you can imagine. So there was a real sense that anyone could really be part of this performance, right from the start, when we all came on stage and introduced ourselves and and our characters. And that was it was really groundbreaking. I don't think I've ever been part of or even seen production that is really that unique.
Andrea, there was some deaf people at Leicester who said they wanted to have just a film of you because they kept watching you, because you physically also embodied the music. Of course you did. And they said it made it more accessible, having the conductor such a visible part of it and integrated into the whole thing, that you yourself were part of their access.
That's nice to, yes. And I mean, certainly it felt like we were all on the same level, and perhaps sometimes in music, when in performance, there are different levels. There's the orchestra is slightly hidden in the pit, and the conductor comes and you see their head, and then you've got the performers and everything. And it really broke down even those levels, as well as the barriers that we have in experiencing such art forms.
I also remember that the ending, because we could never get the ending right physically, with Max and Ella, both of them playing the piano, everything was a bit clunky. And then we realised, actually, this is an ensemble of storytellers, and so they just evaporated. It was just Ella going, oh,
it's true.
Off they went.
Off they went,
And
it was a moment.
The BBC orchestra going, oh, but now it's your turn. This is your moment. And then the whole thing around the bow, Bethan, traditionally the main protagonist would do the big bow. And Beth went, no, I don't want to do that. I'm with everybody. It's all of us together. So I think that's the other thing. Although, we had moments of ego popping up, collectively, really, they're the most unegoistical group of people. They just wanted to work together to do a good job. And I love them for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
we got lucky, didn't we?
We really did. Our singers, our players, all the performers on stage, they just gelled together so well. And I think it's hard as a performer to, when you've been asked to come and prepare this role for an opera, and you really, you've got to be on the music. You come in, and there may be certain hierarchies that a particular opera house might have. Blah blah blah. Do they see the MD? Do they, how much coaching time do they have? All of that, and I think our rehearsal period, also combined with the fact that there was COVID, was so different, perhaps, to a lot of what they'd experienced, and I think that took some time. But what was wonderful around that time was sense that actually everyone began to relax and suggest ideas and try things out, and there were, and I think that was a lot due to how you led, Jenny, just in terms of there wasn't a particular way of that we had to rehearse, or
I have to work collaboratively, and I think that's been the process with you, Evelyn, Nicola, Selena. We worked collaboratively, and I mean, Evelyn doesn't write easy music, does she? So those singers had like, oh, and that's what that's why she's so amazing, because she doesn't give people an easy time.
No, well, it's such wondrous stuff, such wondrous stuff. But I think what's interesting about what you're saying though, Jenny, is that, I mean, you know, it sometimes at the start of things, when you're used to working in a particular way, it's very difficult to collaborate. You know, you've got you know, I mean, and that was, you know, we all at the start just had to sort of understand, you know, because really when we first met, we didn't have a story. You know, we weren't sure what it was going to be. What we had was a, you know, some excellent history about this amazing woman and her life. And so yeah, I'm just reflecting now that, you know, oh yes, our performers, you know, had to, we also went through that process as well, I think, you know, in terms of, you know, how to work, to work with each other, and how to craft the most amazing score, even before rehearsals started.
But one year we did it. It was one of those, but I think it's never going to happen. But it did. We got that opportunity to break as many rules as we could. We got the opportunity to place a narrative about a blind composer that's been completely hidden from history back at the forefront. People know who she is now. And what needs to happen next is we need the opportunity, the funding, the resources to bring it back to life again. You know, we learned so much, and there are things I would change and do differently, of course. But wouldn't it be lovely to do it again?
It'd be fantastic. It would be fantastic, and I think it's one of those productions that really can tour. You know, it's you know, it in terms of how it's been created. Um, I think I also was very struck with the reviews that we received, which were we had fantastic reviews, and from the national press. And what was wonderful about them is, I think they sort of started to question, well, is this opera, you know, should this be what we should be talking about in terms of what opera should be looking like, or you know, what next for opera as a medium? And I just wonder, actually, this is this type of production, what we did here is we really broke the mold, and this is something that needs to continue.
Oh, so we need to leave this room. We need to have a think about who can we start to approach for money, and let's make this next year Operation Paradis File back on the stage.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So take care.
You too. It's lovely. It's lovely to speak with you.
We have done This Is Not For You together at Graeae Docklands International Festival. We've done Paradis Files, which we will do again. What's our third one together? We need to do Everything Happens in Threes, so we need to be thinking, what's the third one? But plotting and planning.
How exciting. I completely agree. Yep. And yeah, I'm sure it's going to be something musical and extraordinary, as Graeae does.
Oh.